Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up, and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. Yeah, it's been quite the week, that is for sure. Hopefully everyone that's joining us, welcome to the new people, and welcome back to all of our regular listeners. We appreciate all of you guys. With that, let's just jump right in. Henno, why don't you go first? How was your week?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Let's see. I've talked to you guys about my work stuff, and I actually had a review on Thursday. Yeah, it was something I was kind of dreading, because instead of my general manager's been doing reviews for the last few years, and so it's just different than when my supervisor does it. And so I was kind of dreading, because he and I have had some issues and stuff. And it was right after lunch, and he goes, "Hey, you want to come in for review?" And he gave me just a glowing review. Was like top to bottom, fantastic. He thanked me, shook my hand, and I just sat there and I was like, is there anything I can do to, make your life easier? Anything, And he was like, no, I just really appreciate that. And one of the things I had decided in my last year's review is my goal was to get to work before he did almost every day. Just to be my boss every day. Just to make it a point that rather than trying to do stuff in the morning, and get things done, it's like when I wake up, my sole focus is to get to work, on time. And my other goal, I realized, is if I get to work early, I generally avoid the rush, and, I'm less agitated and irritated. So It was, he specifically mentioned that he, had noticed that, I show up early every day, blah, blah, blah. So it was a nice little relief going into the weekend to have that. And then, I did a little drive to, Salt Lake City and bought a lawnmower, adulting stuff.
Sure.
Nice.
But, the one thing I've been, I've started feeling better, and it was like, like I said last week, I went to the gym, and I've been, doing it every couple of days, and, keeping with that frame of mind of like, well, I'm going to go in and I've got 45 minutes, or I've got, rather than trying to, go in and make it everything right off the bat, is I'm just trying to do something. And that hasn't meant me going in and lifting a bunch of weights. It's been mostly just doing some cardio and, doing it longer than I ordinarily would. And it was fun to see how already just within a week or two, the level that I can work at and the length that I can go, and like, oh, you know what, I'll go another 10 minutes kind of a thing, has gone up. And it's really been great. It's been a nice little, for me, it's, me being an all or nothing kind of guy, typically, it's like, if I haven't been back to the gym for a while, I'm the type of guy that thinks he can just jump right back in,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, I can just, and then you're like, whoa, no, maybe not, that kind of a thing. And so it's been good to, just do it differently, I guess, and feel okay about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and go, yeah, this is okay. I can baby step myself back to, where I was. So, it's funny how so much of that is a mental game for me. It's not just physical, it's the getting myself in there and doing all that kind of stuff.
That's
So,
probably most of it, I would assume, for most people, like going to the gym, especially after time off, because you're just like, I don't feel like going, or it's all, like it's that, like it's all that work, kind of mentality,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. And that, I think, is a real common thing for, a lot of us operate at extremes. And part of that extreme is, well, like I said before, if I can't do it the way I'm supposed to do it, why bother?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, do it the way you can do it.
I spent a whole
today.
hour of therapy talking about that.
Did you really?
I
That's
did,
cool.
talking about art. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So it's been I've got something going on that's going to be coming up. It's been, I like to call it's been marinating in the brain, but, this kind of goes back to, music stuff and things I talked about maybe, a month or so ago about, what I want to do this year and what I want to keep doing. And the ringing in my ear has still been, here comes the family. You'll hear the dog collars, but, the ringing in my ear still hasn't gone down much. And it's really, I've had a couple of people ask me if I want to go play some music, and I've just been like, no. And the more I kind of sit here with this and go, okay, it's a little, I'm reevaluating in some ways what I want to do, with my hobby, which is, it's been more than a hobby, since I've been doing gigs and actually making some money at that, but whether I still want to keep doing that or not. And it's a tough decision. Anytime that, you're talking about, for myself, anytime that I'm making a big decision about something that I have a passion for, it's tough.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I'll be bringing it up, a little more soon, because it's something that I do want to get feedback on and get other people's thoughts and opinions. I'm just right now, just kind of, like I said, just letting it kind of marinate a little bit and, see what comes of it.
Right on.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
So that's me for the week.
How are you feeling health-wise? I know you were struggling with an infection.
Yeah, I did my last antibiotic last night and feeling normal again. That's been, I guess, the last week. I felt like if I need the energy, I've got the energy. It goes back to what I just said and what Bryan mentioned, is that it's all in my head at this point. Like right this last week, there's no physical limitations. It's what I want. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
Now it's just kicking yourself in the pants and getting after it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, because I know you were really struggling with not being able to do what you wanted to do. So.
No, he was doing exactly what he wanted to do. lay around, play games on his iPad.
This is true. I wasn't exactly beating myself up over it.
Yeah.
There's that.
Right.
Maybe a little now, but
Yeah, right.
Well, my week, I have a pretty big win for me, which is for the last, since I started working at my new job, I've made less than one error per week the entire time. And for most weeks, I've actually made no errors. So, which is a huge win for me, because I've constantly been plagued with attention to detail issues, as been told to me many times throughout my last 20 years of career. So it's huge. I'm at this place where I finally have embraced the get it right, then you can speed up mentality, which is very difficult for me. I'm much more of a throw yourself in and just, balls to the walls and see what happens and embrace the craziness. And this is the first time that I'm fully embraced and completely immersed myself in the slow and easy, slow and steady, make sure you get it right.
Nice.
Then you move forward.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Sounds like the way I used to train people. You train them the long-winded way, and then it's like, listen, you'll learn a better way or a quicker way, but I'm going to show you the way the textbook or whatever shows you how to do it, and then you can figure it out, because, you need to know the right way, then you can
and then
make all
make
your
adjustments
shortcuts.
based on that. And
exactly.
From the moment I walked into this place, I really embraced that. And the people I'm working with, I've been telling them from day one, I'm like, all right, accuracy is number one. Make them have the conversation with you about going faster. Don't let the conversation be, you need to slow down, you need to not make errors.
Yeah.
Is it, they pride themselves on their accuracy. They're telling you the accuracy is their number one, thing. So they're giving you everything you need to know right there, which is accuracy. And if they need to have that conversation with you about speed, they will.
Yep.
But I guarantee you that conversation is going to be so much further down the line than if you're making mistakes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that accuracy
Very true.
conversation is going to be right on the tip of their tongue.
Yep.
So don't give them that power. Take that away from them. Make them have the conversation with you about speed. And it's, and because of this, I'm really seeing a lot of positive changes and positive benefits for me. It's a whole different experience. It's a whole different, just work world for me right now. And it's really cool. It's cool to be in this moment. I was
just going to say that was something I brought up in my, when I was doing my review is one thing that I've done is that kind of that same thing where I've decided to slow down a little bit, and because I had a real big screw up last year, and that came up in the review, and it wasn't to point it out. It was mainly because my boss kind of lost his cool a little bit, and so he was actually apologizing for that again, and I was like, I appreciate that, and I was moving too fast when that happened, and so it was cool to bring up with him and say, hey, I have been taking a little more time to do things, but I also think my quality reflects that. That it's, it's a trade-off that's worth it. And it was cool to bring it up and have that, just keep doing what you're doing. And like you said, when the speed is an issue, that conversation will happen. You know, it's like there's something about going home at the end of the day feeling like that you did it right.
Yep.
That makes it easier to get up the next morning and do it again.
Yeah.
It really does. I feel in control, which is a great feeling. It's like I feel in control of my environment. I feel in control of my desk. And it's pretty, really awesome. And I see others going down the path that I used to go down. And it's like, I want to help them, and I'm doing the best I can to give them advice and to help them see what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I think it's really, it's an aha moment. It's almost like someone had, taken the covers off my glasses, and all of a sudden I'm seeing things from a whole different perspective and a whole different light. And it's just, it's so cool. And I'm finding people are coming to me and asking me for advice and are looking to me for that leadership and for the, what to do next and stuff like that, which I've always wanted, but never had that. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's really cool. And then,
really quick before you move on to something else, let me put one caveat on what you've just said. Because what you just said is how I've always approached the way I work, which is do it right. Don't worry about how long it takes as much. Do it right. But what I found with me, and this can get some people in trouble, is that can lead to having like a white knuckle like grasp on things, like being a control freak. So I would just say, not, for some people, be very careful. Yeah, be careful that it isn't your only thing. Like be aware of everything, and don't let it be like it has to be right. Like don't let it like all on consume you. You don't have to have 100% accuracy. Strive for it, but it's okay if you don't reach it sometimes. So because like with me, it drives me crazy at times, and it's something I've talked with my therapist about. So,
and I'm allowing myself to have those margins of errors.
Yes.
It's really cool, the fact though that, like one of the guys I work with mentioned to me, cause I'm starting to be able to use the knowledge that I've picked up over the years and stuff from college and things that I've gained. And he came to me and was asking me questions about why I'm having things set up a certain way with this group. And he's like, he was asking me some questions, and I explained to him, I said, well, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, there's other reasons other than the obvious ones. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, if you stop and you think about it, because one of the things that I've put into place with the team is I'm giving everybody a focus group. So every day their focus changes of what they're focused on as far as work's concerned, but they're in charge of that area, basically. And he's like, okay. I said, well, the reason I'm doing this is because I want them to have that feeling of ownership, that feeling of success. When they do well, they can see the benefits of it. Other people will come to them and will seek them out because they're the focus of that job for the day, and gives them that feeling of leadership and of control, which will lead to a more a well-informed employee as well as a better engaged employee. And he stopped. He's like, that makes so much more sense. I'm like, exactly. I said, not to mention it shows initiative, and if they're reaching out and asking for help, it shows their confidence to be able to do that. It shows all of this great stuff that can come from just these little things that you put into place. And he's looked at me, he's like, I never would have thought of that way. And I'm like, yeah, that comes from, my background, my training, my college, all of this stuff I've learned over the years. I'm now able to kind of see these things through and put certain things in place and stuff. And he's like, he just looked at me. He's like, my brain wouldn't even work down that path. He's like, I never even thought of that. And just having that feedback and that, just that positive reinforcement and stuff, it just really, it makes it worth it. Yeah, I may have to work a couple extra hours. Yeah, I may have to do a little extra stuff, but getting that positive feedback just reinforces my passion for what I'm doing and my passion for the job that I'm doing. And it makes it worth it for me to go in every day and do the work that I'm doing. So it's been a really, really cool, insightful week for me.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's cool. I love that part where, when people come up to you, it's like hey, I want what you have, attraction rather than promotion. Those things, those are some of the most fulfilling moments, at least for me, and I'm talking mostly about like recovery, when somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, can I talk to you about something? Because the old me, nobody called me and asked me for my opinion. Generally, I was giving it to you whether you wanted it or not.
Right.
Exactly.
Hey, you look like you got your life together.
Exactly.
That's
it's just
awesome.
it's really cool, and it's been sucky because because of the weather changes and stuff up here, I've been having a lot of headaches, so that's been a downside to things. But the fact that it seems like I'm keeping things in perspective and I'm keeping things in check enough that even though it's been noticeable, a few people have mentioned the fact that I'm not quite myself, but I still I still feel through all the positive feedback and stuff like that I'm still getting it done. I'm still holding it together. I'm still getting it done. What needs to happen.
Right.
So.
Nice.
Now, Bryan, how was your week?
My week started off good.
Good.
Last week, as I mentioned, I started a new medicine, and I was having like manic kind of, energy from it. And this week it's kind of leveled off. Now, I don't know if it's leveled off because of it's leveling off, or if it's leveled off because of just kind of a rebound from last week. Like I don't know if I was like I had slingshotted so far one way that now I'm coming back the other way. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. We all do, because no matter what it is, whether it's a hangover or it's a depression spiral or it's a manic episode or just overstimulation from anything, it's that kind of a thing. And I kind of feel like it might be a little of that because I pushed myself last week. I went out and I did things a few nights last week, basically because I was like, you know what? Let's see. Basically, like, all right, my new medicine, what you got? And so we recorded Wednesday last week, and Thursday I was, I'd gotten, I knew coming up I was supposed to go to a concert with, some friends. And one of our friends sent a text and said that unfortunately his dad is in hospice and he wasn't going to be able to go. And it was like, hey, I'll send you guys the tickets, have a good time, all that. And one of the other guys going was like, hey, what's your address? And I was like, I sent him my address, and he goes, cool, see you at 8. This is on Thursday. And I was like, when's the concert? And he goes, tonight, man. And this is at about 7:05. And I'm like, oh. Now, in the past, my anxiety would have shot through the roof. Because that is not enough time for me to kind of center myself, be prepared for it. And a lot of times when I'm going and doing stuff like this, it's with Tony. And Tony was not going. So this is with, guys I'm friends with, but not in the same it's not Tony. Tony's like the safety net, so it was it was different. And, and it was at a 400 person venue. So, and I love venues like that. I absolutely have always loved kind of smaller venues because, you tend to get kind of an intimate concert from a lot of these bands and stuff. But it was, but you also never know. If there's actually 400 people there, it also can feel like a mob show. You can just feel packed, and it depends on how the place is laid out, But anyway, I went, and we had a great time. I talk about this more on Salty Language if you really want to hear my full-on breakdown, but the opening act was a band called Summer Cannibals, which was 3 women and a drummer who, abused his drums, and I mean that in the best possible way. Broke one of his drum heads during the set, actually, but and they were thrashing on those guitars. They were just amazing. And then the Thermals were the opening, or the headline act. And we had a great time. We had some beers. We just enjoyed the music. It was just a really good time. Then afterwards, we just stood outside, made fun of a lot of things, which again I cover in great detail on Salty Language if you want to listen to it. So that it was a really good time, and it was so cool because there wasn't 400 people in there. I don't think there was a good amount of people, but I didn't feel overwhelmed. I enjoyed myself. I just, and again, it was, it was fairly last minute almost even, given that I knew it was coming up, but I couldn't remember what day it was. And then it was basically almost like someone calling going, hey, there's a concert in an hour. Do you want to go?
Yeah.
And I was
That's what it sounded like.
yeah. So, and I was kind of like, sure.
Rumor has it there may have actually been some talking and flirting, maybe? With
there was no
some,
flirting.
strange women?
There was no flirting. I walked up to the bar to buy some beers, and there was a young, attractive lady at the bar, and I ordered 3 PBRs, and she was like, ew, you shouldn't be drinking that. And I said, well, what should I be drinking? She said whiskey, and I said, cool. And I said, give me a whiskey to the bartender. I clanged her glass with mine, and we shot the whiskey, and I walked back.
Wow.
So, like I said, it was a really good time. We had such a good time. The music was great. There was no trouble in the crowd. It was, it was pretty awesome. Other than there was a little bit of rain that night, but whatever. It was, it's a punk show, so it just adds to the whole thing, except for, a bunch of rain dumping on my head right before we walked into the bar.
You're just going for the flash dance look.
Yeah. Oh, it was too. Like right before we walked in. It was almost like someone just took a bucket of water and just dumped it right across my head. So whatever, but I did that. And then, Saturday a group of us went to, a brewery, and then went out later that night to another place for, just to hang out, and, ran into my brother and met his new girlfriend kind of all in the same night. And it was just, like I said, there was another night I did something, and it was just, I kind of pushed myself just to see kind of what I could do with the medicine. And I think I'm feeling it this week, I think I'm feeling the rebound from it, because I've wanted to pull back, but what I'm noticing is it's almost like I'm not allowed to pull back. Like it's almost like there's something like stopping me from pulling all the way. And that makes sense. That's what these medicines are supposed to do. There's supposed to be a wall or a floor, however you want to word it, So I'm digging that, that's hopefully that's the case. I go see my psychiatrist tomorrow, and I think that's, where they step up to the next dosage. And then, And then my week took a big steaming dump all over me, and, I had to have my longtime kitty cat put down this morning, and, so today has not been a good day. But again, I'm on this medicine, so the positive spin I'm trying to put on this is, well, here's my tests for how well this medicine's going to work for me. Because this is the kind of day that I should be laying in bed all day, not being able to get out of bed. Because it's wrecked me really hard. And I won't lie, there's been part of the day that I was in bed, mostly because I was up all night. But, and it's been very, very hard today. And I've felt overwhelming sadness, and I'll tell you, on one hand, it's the most alive I've freaking felt in years. Wow. And I say that, and I mean that in, you know what I mean? I think, do you guys get what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
I'm feeling, like I'm feeling emotion, and it's so real, like I feel, like I've told you before, I feel when I'm in the moment with music. And I felt today, and it's because in my head and stuff, it's such an incredible loss. But I feel it also in ways that I know I'm supposed to feel it. And I've felt gray and just meh when I've lost things in the past that should have wrecked me worse than they did. Kind of a thing. And I think, like I said, I'm going to tell my well, not the psychiatrist, but I'll be telling my therapist all of this when I go in for therapy next week, because I think a lot of this, I think, has to do with, first of all, how receptive I've been to the medicine, the therapy, and the self-work that I've been doing. And I also think this has a lot, but a lot of it, I think, has to do with this medicine, that, knock on wood, I really kind of feel like I might have found my medicine, because
amazing.
I feel like me. In a lot of ways. Like I said, I'm feeling like a creative spark a little bit again that I haven't had in a long time. And I'm feeling, like, and not just sadness, like I'm feeling the other side of things a little bit too. So it has been one big roller coaster since last Wednesday for me. I felt the highs from kind of the manic-ish feelings and the music that I went and saw, and I felt the incredible lows from earlier this morning. So, and now I've kind of had some in between. So I've really put this medicine to the test this week.
Absolutely. But the fact is that you were able to feel these things, feel the highs and feel the lows.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong.
I can't think of a time that I can remember feeling absolute highs and lows in this kind of proximity in years in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm calling that my win, even though I don't want the lows. I'm still calling it the fact that I was able to shift through feelings.
Absolutely. And not have it wreck you. I mean, that's the big part.
Yeah.
Shift through the emotions and not have it completely sideline you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I honestly feel like my emotional hangover from pushing myself last week was about a day-ish to 2 days this time.
Versus a week.
Chicago shut me down for about a week and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it in perspective, Chicago was 3-4 days. Last week I did things on 3-ish days, and it was about a day and a half. Now, it wasn't quite the constant, but it was, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. And it sucks about losing Missy.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was an amazing friend and amazing partner for many, many, many years. So.
Yep.
But that being said, I wanted to kind of talk about an article that you found and sent over to the Crazy Life podcast at outlook.com. Bryan found this, and I really thought it was a great one to talk about. The article is 5 Ways to Stop Your Racing Thoughts. Now, we've all been there. And, mental illness, non-mental illness, addictions or not, I think we've all had these moments. A lot of people, it's when they're going to sleep and they can't shut their brain off. You can't stop it. You just get all this stuff going on. Now, the one that they're talking about, psychologytoday.com, is where the article is posted by Patricia Hartneck, PhD. And she puts, remember that the worst case scenario probably won't come to pass. Erasing thoughts, fast repetitive thought patterns about particular topics are a common feature of anxiety and other mental health disorders, but they can happen anytime you're in an anxious or stressed state, even if you're not experiencing other symptoms. Erasing thoughts may be replays of past events which generate anxiety or sadness for you. This may also be worries about things that could happen in the future. There are strings of thoughts that are blown out of proportion, have a pattern, consume time, and often have no rational conclusion. They can look like this. I always forget what I have to do. I'm so stupid. If I don't remember everything, I'll get fired. I don't know what I'll do if that happens. I should have taken that job I was offered 6 months ago. If I lose my job, I won't have any money. I need to work longer hours to keep this job. That just makes me more depressed. I'm so miserable. What am I going to do? Yeah. That sounds awfully familiar. I don't know. How about you guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They always start as one and just chain, Yeah. For me, that's the way, anyway, they start as one negative thought or something or just, I should have said this, or then that would have been then this. And, like they said, replaying the conversation or whatever. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, yeah. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
That's one of the actual reasons that I started on my path to get better and to get diagnosed and to work with my doctors was based upon racing thoughts, because I could not shut my head off.
Yeah.
And it was so bad that it was altering my life. I was opting out of doing things because my brain was just racing, and it became such a big thing in my head. I would just opt out of doing things because it was just too much for me to do, because I had built all of this stuff up in my head with all these racing thoughts.
Right. Now, are you meaning like you're mind reading?
Oh yes, that too.
Yeah. Okay.
I was mind reading. I was putting words in other people's mouths. I was making assumptions.
Right. Yeah.
Creating alternate realities that didn't exist.
Tying this all back to the distorted thinking worksheet. Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's so true. That's where a lot of this starts. It's so awful, because that is what happens. Is like you said, I did the same thing. If I do this, they're going to say this, and then this, and then what you end up finding is that most times people don't, because most of the time it's truly you being a narcissist, because you think in these conversations that everything realistically, when you take a step out and look at it, you're going, they're all going to talk about me all night, and they're not going to.
No.
They're not going to, but you seem to think that everyone's going to talk about you all night.
Or you're asking yourself, why aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is an even more interesting thing. Like you say something, you say something wrong, or you say something that's embarrassing, and you'll dwell on it for the next 20 minutes or whatever it is, 2 hours, 2 days, who knows what it is. They forgot about it already because they're in their own head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet, right?
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I wonder sometimes, well, why aren't they thinking about me? I mean, talk about ego.
Right. And it's funny, you could have sorry, go ahead.
I was saying you can have like literally both happening at the same time. And it typically happens when you're in those states.
Yeah.
Exactly. And have you ever tried to apologize for something that you've made up in your own head? Because you're like, walk up to somebody and you're like, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said that, And they look at you like they have no clue what in the world you're talking about. They have no idea whatsoever. And you had this like big thing and this big, speech already made up because it was such a huge issue for you, and you're going to apologize, you're going to make it right and all this other stuff. And they look at you like you're Looney Tunes.
Or the better part is that, you said something and you think you've made the biggest mistake in the world. It eats you alive all night for 3 days. Then you finally see him again and you're like, I've just got to say I'm sorry for blah, blah. And they're like, huh? Like they don't even remember you said it.
Exactly.
And you're like, I've lost 4 days of my life. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All because of my own head.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, she writes, when thoughts like these flood your mind, they drain your energy, stop you from living in the present moment, and create a loop in your brain that feels difficult to escape. They can also make it harder to concentrate and accomplish daily tasks and impair your memory and sleep. Yes, as mentioned, this is a big thing for why people can't sleep sometimes, is because they cannot stop the racing thoughts.
Right. If I go to sleep right now, I'll get 4 hours and 6 minutes of sleep. If I go to sleep right now, I'll get 4 hours and 5 minutes of sleep. If I go to sleep right now, I'll get 4 hours and 3.
I have to have at least 3 hours of sleep to be able to accomplish what I need to accomplish tomorrow. Oh my God, I'm not going to be on my game. I'm not going to be on my game at work. They're going to find me, sluggish, and then I'm going to get fired because I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do. And how am I supposed to take the kids up if I can't pick the kids up after work? And yes, we all know. Yep. We've been there. Variations of it go on and on and on and on. Now, when I was a teenager, I had a really bad sleep anxiety when in my head it was 11 p.m. I needed to be asleep by 11 p.m. If I was not asleep by 11 p.m., my life was ruined. And I would sob. I would have this major anxiety attack come like 10:30, quarter to 11 o'clock. If I wasn't asleep, I would just absolutely lose my stuff. I could not pull myself together. And so my mom got me some tapes. And keep in mind, this was mid-90s, I want to say, 95-ish, 94-ish. So she got me these tapes, these sleep tapes. And a couple things really struck a chord with me that I still use to this day. The first of which is the movie reel technique. Now, hopefully you guys all know what a movie reel is and what film is. It's been a long time, but, if you don't know what it is, look it up. But what you do is you take your train of thought and you picture it like it's on some movie film. Then you're going to take your fingers like scissors and cut it up. Then blow it away. And every time your brain starts going down and starts doing the repetitive thinking and stuff like that, you keep repeating that same pattern. And what it does is it retrains your brain and stops your brain from going it over and over and over again.
But what if a bird picks that up and eats it and chokes on it, and then I'd feel bad about that bird eating that film and choking on it? And
yeah, no. Stop it all. Get it up. Blow it away. Like you rip it up and blow it away. And it's really worked well for me. And it sounds silly, but it's that interrupting of the thoughts, interrupting of the pattern that you're going down. It helps to break the cycle. And I think that's the key, is breaking through that cycle of thoughts and thought patterns. and figuring out what it is for you that'll help you break through that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you'll love this one, Brian. First one, use cognitive distancing. Not too dissimilar from what we've been talking about. Our mind usually worries about things it's convinced are true, but most of the time are actually not true. You can balance your mind's tendency to predict the worst outcome by coming up with the positive alternative scenarios. For instance, your spouse seems distant and sending out a lot of emails. You decide he must be having an affair. An alternative scenario is he's working extra hard on a project. Analyze what's most likely to happen. Most of the time, the worst case scenario your brain comes up with is not the most likely one. Can see that.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it really, it is just a reframing at that point, to try to help you. Like, instead of going down the worst case one, like, maybe try the best case scenario or something and, try that. It is kind of funny, though, because, like, if you think they're having an affair, it's like, maybe he's working on a project. And it's like, that's all right. That's a tough jump the other way,
It really is.
That's a hard one, yeah. If the problem is he's coming home late from work, then you could I think that's what they're getting at, is instead of jumping to affair, say, well, maybe he's just working on a project, sure, but
or ask, at least prompt you to ask more appropriate questions, versus the accusatory questions, more of a probing question, like, how's work going? Yeah. My big thing is when I notice someone, or I feel like someone is distant, or I feel like someone is quote unquote mad at me or not happy with me, I repeat to myself over and over again, if they have an issue with me, they will bring it to me. It is not up to me to decide if they have a problem with me.
Right.
And it's taken me a long time to get there, but I'm pretty good with it now.
Right.
That I'll still catch myself doing it. Like, even this morning it happened. Somebody didn't smile the same way that they smile every other day, type of a thing. Instantly I'm like, oh, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe he's mad at me. And I stop and I'm like, no. Nope. We're not doing that.
Nope. See, you can't. You can't do that because you don't know what's going on with him.
Exactly.
You don't know what kind of day he's having,
And that. So in my head, I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. Instead, I just told myself, I'm like, you know what? Nothing to do with me unless he makes it to do with me.
Yep.
Until then, none of my business. None ya.
Yep. Exactly.
Continue on with my life as nothing happened.
Meanwhile, he's sitting there going, I wish Jen would ask me what's wrong. I could use a friend. No. She hasn't noticed I'm smiling different today. No wonder why she's got the reputation as unapproachable.
Jeez. Yes, folks, that has been a feedback I have received in my life. Is I'm unapproachable.
So is Henno. I mean, with the "don't you know who I am" bit. So
exactly.
And me with just the way I look at people, apparently. So I used to terrorize new people. So just by looking at them, I glare at them. Actually, I just look through them. I was told that at a review, so that I needed to stop looking through new hires.
People.
Yeah.
It's I can't believe you're that stupid. Look.
It's like are you saying you see right through them? No, I'm literally looking through them.
Yeah, like you don't exist.
I don't even care who they are on the inside. I'm literally looking through them.
I just didn't want to be bothered training people. That's all it was. I just wanted you to be hired and know everything. I just had no tolerance for for being naive.
Funny.
All right, the next thing that they suggest is use a mantra. A mantra is a simple phrase or word that you can repeat to calm your mind. Research has shown that repeating a mantra reduces activity in the part of your brain that is responsible for self-judgment and reflection. This is the part of the brain that spends so much time rehashing the past and worrying about the future. You can use any word, sound, or saying you want. You could even try something like Om, life is good, or everything's okay. Repeat your phrase over and over, focusing your thoughts only on your mantra. If your mind wanders, return to your mantra. You can practice this almost any time, even when you're in the supermarket or on your commute home from work. Mine is breathe.
One of mine is to just to repeat perfect moment, beautiful moment, perfect moment, beautiful moment over and over again.
Nice.
That's cool.
I learned that. I went to a priory. It's like about 45 minutes south of us. What is it? It's an offshoot of a Catholic. There are parts of they're monks and they follow this one type. They really have a strong focus on meditation. So they'll do meditation retreats at the priory, and so they'll do like a weekend retreat. It's a real intensive, and that was one that Father. Oh God, I'm forgetting his name now. That's horrible. Really left an impact, evidently.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But,
wow. Speaking of seeing right through people, or looking through
exactly,
people.
Yeah.
No?
Well, he plays the harp. I mean, come on.
Wow. Dang.
The harp is amazing.
Yeah.
But he's the one that said that one. And then I have I have a lot of my own little mantras that I use oftentimes just to shut up the voices in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's its sole goal. It's not so much that I'm getting into a meditative state. It's actually active. I am purposely not thinking of something else.
Right.
So whatever that phrase is,
sure.
And it's different than it's different than getting into a meditative state. This is like active, making an active choice that's why I like mantras are great for if you're stuck on something. And that's not to say I don't drift back.
Oh, sure.
But I've had days where all day long I had to say something over and over again just to stop going there to that place, and it got me through the day.
It's all about breaking the cycle. So if you can break the cycle and then just keep breaking that cycle, eventually you will train your brain so that it's not as hard. It becomes easier. With me, it's the word breathe and breathing. I breathe in, I breathe out, and I just am like, okay, and breathe and bring it together, and I use that over and over again to kind of get myself going. Another thing I do, which I've mentioned many times on here, is wiggle the toes, because wiggling the toes will distract your brain, will break the cycle of all the crazy thoughts that are happening up there, and has a side effect of usually making you smile, because wiggling your toes is kind of silly. So, it's stuff like that. You got to use these little tools and these little tricks.
You want to know what mine is?
Hell yeah! What's yours?
Mine's from a movie. And it's not Caddyshack because Tony's probably listening going, no. No, it's,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I have done that, but, no, it's actually, and it's not necessarily that I repeat it over and over, but it's one that the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And it's from For the Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. And it's right before he goes to pitch. He's standing on the mound as a baseball pitcher, and he stands there, he gets into his set, and he goes, clear the mechanism, and you just, because all you hear is the crowd, and then you hear this like whoosh, and then you hear nothing. And it's like that, and if you've ever read a sports psychology book, every one of them has that thought process in it. You have to have something in your head that allows you to clear your mechanism so that you can focus on your visualization of, you know, seeing you throwing the pitch you're about to throw, or, you know, throwing a shot in bowling, or, you know, whatever it is you're about to do, a touchdown pass, whatever it is. And, that is always stuck in my head because it just makes so much sense. It's clear the noise basically. And, you know, so that's the one I always go to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're right. That is a great one. And I've heard you say it many times.
Yep. Every once in a while, I'll just be like, clear the mechanism. And I did it when I was bowling, actually, to just eliminate the noise around me, because the bowling alleys are so noisy. And I would do it. I'd be clear the mechanism. I'd say it while I'm standing on the approach.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Number 3 is focus on the present. Returning your focus to the present will help you accept and let go of what you cannot control. It will also help you realize that you can't change the past and that the future hasn't happened yet, so it's a waste of time to keep thinking about them. This doesn't mean that you are unaware of what happened in the past or what is about to happen in the future. Try taking a deep breath and asking yourself how you are feeling right now.
Okay, does anybody else feel like Rafiki could have done this list?
Yeah.
Or Timon and Pumbaa and Rafiki could have done this list?
Yeah.
What's a motto? Nothing. What's a motto with you? Yeah. And
I actually have, or had for a long time, the conversation between Simba and Rafiki when he gets hit in the head.
Yeah.
He's like, "Ow, that hurts."
Right.
Yeah, past hurts.
It's in the past. It doesn't
It's over
matter.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because that's very true, and it was very wise words. This one, the focus on the present, another thing I did, because I have had a lot of sleep issues in the past, is look at the back of your eyelids. So if you're trying to sleep, and talk about focus on the present. If you're trying to sleep and you can't get your brain to shut off, look at the back of your eyelids. And every time, because your eyes naturally roll back, your eyeballs roll backwards when you close your eyes. So if you're looking at the back of your eyelids, you're making your eyeballs go against what they naturally want to do, and you get to see pretty colors. It's kind of crazy.
I feel like we should look this up to find out if this is medically cleared or not. Like, doctors do not recommend that you try to look at the back here. No.
But if you try to look at the back of your eyelids, and every time your brain starts going, again, it's just a distraction.
Yeah.
It's being in the present. Like, what am I doing at this present moment, exact moment right now? I have my eyes closed and I'm looking at the back of my eyelids. That is what I'm doing at this moment. And eventually you will fall asleep. It works.
All right, so I thought that Tony, my co-host on Salty Language, had the weirdest sleep tip ever. That may be the weirdest I've now heard. So
really,
yeah, Tony's is that he just.
Say that one before.
No, I have heard you. Yeah, Tony's is to just lay in bed and tell himself sleep, and that he goes to sleep. So yeah, that's
using his power word technique.
Yes.
Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Sleep.
He has the ability to just shut himself off, I guess. I don't know.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, focusing on the present and the present moment, being in the moment, because so often if we let our minds go and rehash the past or focus on the future, we forget where we're at. We forget what we're doing. We're not actively listening to those around us. Mm-hmm. It's just be in the moment.
It's the hardest.
Enjoy the moment. The moment.
I will bet money this is the hardest one on the list because it's very difficult. Like me, the hardest thing for me to do is be in the moment. And even when you go do stuff now, people have a hard time being in a moment. I went to a concert and there were so many people looking down at their phone at the concert. I don't mean holding their phone up recording. I mean looking down at their phone while they were at the concert. or at the show. And it's like, why are you, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? Why don't you just go home and play a Spotify list? Like, why did you buy tickets to this to just look at Twitter or whatever while you're here? I don't understand why you're here. That kind of a thing. So, and it's the same thing. It's like, put your phone away. Why are you using your phone? Live in the moment for this. Like, be in that moment. Enjoy the music in the concert. It's like, there's not very many times where I'm like the old man, put your phone away moment, but that is certainly one of them. Because I've seen so many shows before freaking cell phones and whatnot, and it was, you went to the show, you enjoyed yourself, and then you left. And then you talked about it with people. You didn't, oh, I gotta post all my videos, like garbage, And I think it's so many people, it's like, oh, what content am I generating versus, and it's like, did you really enjoy the thing? Or is it, oh, I gotta see how many likes I get based on the content I generated? Versus I went and enjoyed myself. I don't know. I just think people are missing the point. I don't know. What do I know?
No, I agree.
I'll just hike my pants up a little higher to my armpits and, shake my fist at the kids.
No, I think you're absolutely right on. Is that it's very difficult now for us to really do just one thing and completely focus and be in the moment doing one thing.
Yeah. I mean, again, Henno, how many times in Chicago when we were at the art museum, people are on their phones instead of just enjoying stuff, right?
Yep.
It's like, you're in this awesome moment and you're just like, on your phone,
And it kind of also applies to the, people taking pictures. I understand that that's a different, you're looking at everything through the lens of the camera. That's part of the process or whatever it is. But, there's something about it though, where I just sit there and I go, put the thing down and just look.
Yeah.
Spend some time looking, and I know real photographers, that's what they do. They actually analyze their subject, and they actually focus on it and look at what how they can make this the best. But all I saw was somebody walking through with a camera and just snapping pictures of everything.
Yeah, right.
And then move on to the next one. Like, okay, and then now I'm going to take this all home and enjoy it when I get home.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how it felt.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, you're not living in the moment by doing that. You're not, you're missing it. You're going to think you are, but you're not. You're just walking past everything. And then you're going to get home and be like, oh yeah, and you're living in memories then, which is whatever, but it's not the same.
No, it's not.
Like, I go to a show or a concert or something. It's like, I'm going to that for a reason. I can just pull up Spotify or whatever and listen to music anytime I want to. There's all these streaming services. I can listen to all this. I can buy music. I can listen to all I want, So if I'm going to a show, if I'm not going to see and experience it, why am I paying this kind of money to go see it when I can take this content for next to or free? I just don't get that, I don't know. It's like watching fireworks on TV.
Yeah. Well, basically everything on this list, they're great suggestions, but they aren't, and this is something that I've experienced myself, and I stress to people that are in recovery. And one other tool that I don't, it may be, is the list complete yet?
There's two more things. There's write things down, and of course the ever popular breathe.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked is because there's one thing missing on there, and that is find a higher power. And I'm going to bring that up because, and I don't care if it's a tree in your backyard that you go out and stare at. This tree that's been there for 100 years, or you go out into the woods and find a rock that's been there for bazillion years. That is a power greater than you, because you haven't been here for 3 bazillion years. You know what I mean?
I might have been. Did you just hear the rant I gave?
Well, this is true. So, and the reason I'm being a little forceful is because there are people that will bristle at this idea, but it's actually quite simple. The idea is and some people will use other people or a group of people. But the point is that find something or someone that's done something that you can't or have never done. And that moment, that is a power greater than yourself. And this idea of turning your, and this is part of 12-step programs, is turning your will and your life over to the care of a higher power. That does not mean you give your life away. It means care. That word care is very important. And what I've gotten from this is the idea that I'm not in charge of everything. I don't have to fix it. When they say, there's these crazy terms like let go and let God, turn it over. These are simply tools. It's not mystical. It's not, magical. You don't have to go and, go to the church and pray to do this. It's very simple. And some people even equate it to something on the inside of them. Like they'll call it their little radio with their little radio station, I've heard, or however you want to phrase it. But the idea being is that there is something you can sit there and part of this meditation, all of these things you can say, you know what? I don't have to deal with it. Somebody else has got me right now. I don't have to worry about this because somebody else has got me right now. And the reason that people fear the idea of a higher power is because they feel like they're giving up something of themselves. But what I've learned is that it's a paradox. And in putting dependence on something else in my life, I have gained independence because I'm not worried about what that person walking down the street who just glanced at me, what they're thinking. And I'm not wondering if the other person that just walked away has got some opinion of me. And I am no longer letting people, places, and things control my life. Because the idea is, and you can call it just the mysticism of the universe. The power of the universe is going to take me in the direction that I need to go in, and I don't have to be the one to control it. And these things are not there for you at the drop of a dime. You're not going to suddenly, reframe and shut the voices up. You're not going to suddenly say a mantra, and everything's going to be fine. This whole list requires practice.
Yes, very much. Even the breathing part of it requires practice. Yeah. And that's maybe the simplest thing on the whole list. Yeah.
And a desire to change.
Yeah. The time when you need these tools, they're not just there for you instantly.
Yeah.
And I learned this the hard way. I have, counselors and closed-mouth trusted friends of mine who have shared the same thing is, life was good until life got bad. And and life suddenly lifed me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't shut my head up right now.
Yeah.
And why can't, and all right, okay, I'm going to sit down and do my tools. I'm going to meditate. Nope. Can't shut that voice off because when life was good, I wasn't practicing.
Yep.
I was going, life is good. I don't need this, And so that's the kind of thing that I want to add to this list and stress is that these are tools you can start today and should start today as a practice. There's a reason that the Buddhists call it a meditation practice.
Yes.
They are always practicing.
I am so glad you brought that. And we talked about this a little bit. Was it last week or the week before, I think, too, about the whole, or whenever it was, a few weeks ago, I don't know. But about the whole, how there's so many people who want to abandon therapy when they feel good. Or they want to abandon, their medicines, or they want to abandon whatever it is that is, even meditation, any of this kind of stuff. And they, but you can't, you shouldn't do that, and again, not a doctor, but it can be very detrimental to you because that's when you can fall back into these situations. And then when you do need it, you're out of practice, you're out of, the medicine especially, but,
You'll be like to square one and you get to start over.
Right. Or, you fall into a situation where you've quit therapy, where therapy has helped you by giving you tools and you've quit using those tools. And, it's these things are very important, especially if you're dealing with something that's a long-term, like mental illness, recovery from an addiction of some sort. These kind of things that you can't just snap your fingers and they go away. They take work, they take commitment, they take help. You are not beating these things generally on your own. You generally need a system of support. You generally need, a game plan. Sometimes you need medicines or other helps, along the way. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's something you and I and Jen have brought up before. And I think it's much like breathing and the distorted thinking. It's one of those things that I think that,
The toes.
Yeah. It's every, yep. And the toes. Yeah. That every time we bring it up, it's like, I don't even care if we've brought it up 1,000 times. 1,001 is still not enough. 1,002 is still not enough. And again, it isn't about trying to be doctors or diagnosing things. It's just, these are things we've seen, we've done, we've seen how well they work. And even just talking with my therapist, or you've talked with group people, or whoever it is we've talked to, they all seem to be like, oh yeah, I think it's pretty much a consensus with a lot of this stuff. And, like I said, even the breathing, you notice when you breathe and you, like me, like I said, every time I get to a situation and I feel like this is going to be stressful, the first thing I do is I prepare myself by starting a breathing process to go into it. And then I'll do it while I'm in there if I feel the stress level going up. This morning we went to the vet. We're sitting in the room. I didn't know what exactly to expect. The first thing I did, I felt a panic attack coming on. So I immediately started trying to breathe in hopes of, pushing it aside, basically, and unfortunately it was a little too late at that point, but it was, I tried, but it's one of those that it was kind of a fight or flight, because I was already into essentially a panic attack, and had I not been practicing, it may have been worse. It's those kind of things though. You still have to practice these things. When you feel stressful, breathe. Even when you don't, it's not a bad thing. Like when you get out of work, breathe. Like, even though you're like, I'm out of work, it should be whoop-a-doo, it's a great time of day. Practice your breathing. That's a great time to do it. Let all your garbage from the day go with your breathing.
Did I tell you guys that I was asked about my breathing last week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Sign with
somebody
purpose.
Was kind of questioning, right?
Yep. Okay. I didn't know if I had mentioned it or not, but yes. So I ended up approaching the subject with my coworker, so they all understand my breathing. But yeah, I mean it's so important. It's almost second nature to me now. Like I barely even notice I do it. I just automatically start going right into it whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, stressed out. My brain's getting out of control. I start with my breathing.
My therapist reminds me every time I go in. She has reminded me so many times, like when I'll bring up something stressful is coming up, and she's like, remember to do your breathing, and it's funny because I've been going in there long enough. I've been doing it enough that, it should be essentially second nature, to where I should but that's how important it is. That she reminds me, and I'm glad she does. It's.
Yeah. And the thing, the getting to that point where it becomes second nature, that can take a while.
Yeah.
A lot of times we practice these things for years. It really isn't. And that's why same thing with meditation. You can start with a minute, move to 2, get yourself an egg timer, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's all of these techniques take some time, and they do take some practice, and you actually have to put them into practice a lot. There's, you have to test them a little bit, and then you get a little better and you get a little better. But the good news is hopefully if you can start now, if you can start working on some of these tools now, when you really need them, they'll be a little bit easier to grasp. And that's a great thing. There's
Yeah.
like we've already shared. I mean, there's nothing better for me in my day to get through, it can even be a simple situation, but something that just used to throw me for a loop, and I just handle it fine. And I go, wow, boy, that's different, you know, and it feels so good.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is so amazing when you can recognize that the hard work is paid off.
Yep.
You know, and that should be, you know, like we've talked in the past, you know, when you have those moments, that's your confirmation to keep working. You know, that's your catalyst to keep going. That's not a, oh, I'm all done. You know, that's a, nope, that's a, I'm on the right path. You know, the road may never end. That's just keep going. Keep going. You know?
I like these ideas of there is no finish line.
Yeah.
There is no, and nobody likes that. Here's the problem. Everyone wants to be just cured and go back to being quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
Well, we've all talked about that word normal.
Yep. Yeah. How much we
Normal's a very lonely place.
We don't like the normal word around these parts. Yeah.
No. Well, there's nobody there. Normal is a very, very lonely place. There's no one at normal.
Yep. Exactly. But you're right. You're right. That's what it is everyone wants a cure. And that's the problem is for these kind of things, there's no cure at this point. You know, there's things that help. Every bit of it helps. And, you know, when you take this and this and this and this and put them all together, it's like, hey, you know, now I have a 4-part weapon to fight this. So, you know, and then you, oh, this will help too. Okay. And this will, you know, it's like, you just keep adding weapons to the arsenal. And sooner or later you're like, you know, this depression isn't the adversary it used to be. You know, or whatever it is you're up against, you know, and that's what you're hoping for. Eventually, maybe someday there will be some sort of a cure. That'd be awesome. I'd love for that to happen someday. But until then, you know.
You got to decide to fight. That's the very, very, very first step.
Yep.
Is you have to make that conscious decision that I am going to change this. Yeah. I'm not happy with the way things are. I'm going to change this. Then practice your tools. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to take your time, learn your tools, learn what works best for you. Start building that recipe of the combination of the different techniques and different things that work for you, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many different stuff out there. They talk about, you know, creating routines for yourself to help break through, your brain cycles and get those routines in place. You know, practice your breathing, practice your mantras, practice all of this stuff. It takes time, takes energy, and ultimately you have to choose to do them.
Yeah.
If you do, you will see results.
Yeah. That's why it's so deceiving for some people when celebrities will come out and they'll see, you know, and they'll be like, hey, I had depression, and people will be like, wow, you got it all together. And and it's like, yeah, I've done a lot of this or this to get to this point. You know, it's like, I didn't just snap my fingers and I was all of a sudden okay, you know, and I'm still in therapy and I'm still this, and, you know, and I love when celebrities come out and put a voice on stuff, but sometimes I think people think, oh, well, they look like they've got it all together, you know, and like it's an easy deal because we didn't see their journey, you know, and like I said, I love that there's a voice on it. Yeah. Like The Rock, you know, he came out and was talking about some depression issues he had as he grew up and stuff. And a lot of people are like, well, he turned out fine, so clearly you can too. And I'm like, do you realize the drive that man has? Like, he has a superhero. Seriously. He has an ungodly drive that most people don't have. He has a different gear, you know. Now, I'm not saying that people couldn't have some modicum of success that he's had, but there's a different level with that guy, you know. So I don't know that he should be held as again, I hate the word, but norm, you know, or normal, you know what I mean? He's an exception. So, you know, just like you shouldn't look at him as go, you know, look at your kids and go, why aren't you as successful as him? You know, forgetting the depression stuff, just in general. Why aren't you as successful as this guy? You know?
Exactly, right?
It's like, come on now. Like,
comparing ourselves to others gets us nowhere, as
right.
we've well proven.
Again, on the distorted thinking worksheet.
Yes.
What was the other one on that list, Jen, except for aside from breathing? Because we've beat the breathing horse into the ground and will continue to ride it. But what else was on that list?
That sucker.
Yeah.
Write things down.
Oh, okay, right.
Basically, get it out of your head, write it down on paper. I've heard a couple variations on this.
Yeah.
Some say save it for later, revisit it. If it's warranted, then you act upon it.
Yeah.
If it's not warranted, get rid of it.
Right, if it's productive.
I've heard others.
Yeah.
You're right. I've heard others say, write everything down, rip it up, and throw it away.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. So it's all kind of what works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, anything that you can do to get it out of your head is a huge, huge help.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. You know, there was one I read a long time ago too, in the writing things down thing, which was, write down all the negative thoughts you can come up with and then write like the counter of each of them, which kind of mushes two of these together. And then basically kind of look at that and go, okay, now what is most likely to happen here? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll end up finding is obviously most of the time it'll either be in the middle or it's probably more likely to not be the worst case scenario, you know? Or as I found when we went to Chicago, the night before, you know, was having some worst case scenario thoughts. My head was racing. We went the next day. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. And hey, you know what? Here I am telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
I lived. I made it through. So, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can just make it through worst case scenario.
Through.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you face worst case scenarios and you're like, oh, you know, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't that bad.
And you can come up with the best stories that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's
Right.
about, you know, giving things a try, getting those stories and laughing at them because they get absurd sometimes. Life is absurd.
Mm-hmm. Oh, geez, yeah. You aren't kidding. I mean, that's the whole, you know, depression and a lot of these mental illnesses. That's really all they do. They just lie to you. You know, they just lie to you. They try to keep you from, you know, like depression just wants you to curl right up in bed and turn Netflix on, or sorry, not just Netflix, but turn on the TV in some fashion. I don't want to make it sound like, you know, Netflix is attached to depression and, you know, but,
It's not.
yeah, you know, and, you know, that's all it wants you to do. Just get nice and comfy in bed and just sit there and just curl up with it and just, you know, and forget everybody else. So like we've said before with that or any other thing that wants you, or, you know, addiction wants you to curl up with a bottle or something like that and just forget the rest of the world and have these awful thoughts and stuff. And it's, you know, like, hey, you know what would help you get rid of that? More of me, you know, and it's like, slow down, folks.
No.
Yeah. So
I will say I did see a great post on Facebook. Someone created a doormat that says, please come back. I'm isolating.
Yes.
And I read that and I'm like, oh, how often do I need that?
Yeah, we talked about that actually, remember? Because we were like, we need to get those made for all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had a really robust conversation this week, and if you want to continue the conversation with us, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at Jen's Crazy Life on Twitter. You can reach us at our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com or shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Bryan sends a a bunch of really great articles to that email address. You can too. You come across something on Facebook, you come across something on the interwebs, shoot it over to us so that we can have a great discussion about it. Henno, how can they continue the conversation with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Henno, and you can also find me on Facebook at Henno Heiter. Please feel free to get a hold of me for anything. I'm always happy to chat with people about what they're going through and what they're doing to get through their day.
Absolutely. And you, Bryan?
You can also follow the show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I usually post, like, sometimes I'll throw smaller articles or whatever from the that we may not talk about on the show on there, and also when we post new episodes. And you can also follow the show over on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. So go join that, and we'll post different articles over there and hopefully have some discussions over there as well. You can follow me on Twitter if you'd like to at Stunami. You can check out my other podcast Twitter at salty_language, or you can check out the website for that show at saltylanguage.com. I think I have all the links there because they're right in front of me this time. Ha!
Yay!
I almost forgot one part of it though, which is that we are part of the Tangent Bound Network and also the Wicked Radio Network. So go check out those. There's there's not. I should put those in there. I was gonna say there's links in the show notes, but there aren't. So there will be links in the new show notes. So check those out. And also, then I will say, as always, we're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind. So if you need help or feel you need help, please contact a professional and, or get in some sort of a group session and at least, get some help. Don't try to tackle this alone. Don't self-diagnose because that generally is a path to bad news. But anyway, get a good game plan for whatever it is that you're taking on. And, of course, also, if you're having suicidal thoughts, please do not do that. Please call a friend or someone in your support system if you can, or get a hold of the suicide prevention hotline, or text 741-741 and tell them that you're feeling suicidal. Or call 911 and tell them that you're having a mental health emergency, and, get the help that you need. But please try not to be alone, especially during that time. And please don't kill yourself.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to end with a big shout out to all our four-legged furry friends, two-legged lizard friends, and all of our wonderful family members that may not be of the human sort. We appreciate each and every one of you and what you bring into our lives. We love you all dearly, and you mean the world. So with that, keep breathing, everyone. Have a great day.